With the season already into full swing and the Celtics with an amazing start, they could be looking into improving their front court depth and adding a major role player from the Utah Jazz. Now, this is another episode of Celtics Digest. I'm your host, Godfrey Sympre, and before we get started and talking about this special player, I just want to tell you guys, hit the subscribe button so you guys don't forget about all your latest new Celtics rumors, trades, everything far and in between about our Boston Celtics. Now, without further ado, man, let's get started. And the player I'm going to be talking about today is that the Celtics could have possible interest in Utah Jazz center Walker Kessler. Now, I saw this today on NBA Central on Twitter, and it says the Lakers are currently the favorites to land Walker Kessler if Utah decides to trade him. Now, Utah has been floating around with the idea to trade Walker Kessler for about ever since he's got drafted, to be honest. You know, Walker Kessler played for North Carolina and Auburn, was a pretty good defensive player coming out of the draft, and ever since he's been drafted, Utah has kind of been that 10th to 13th type seed team in the West, in the hard West, to even make the playoffs. And they've always been flirting around with the idea of either rebuilding or making another trade to get better. Now, we've seen they've traded Rudy Gobert, Donovan Mitchell in the past couple of seasons, and it looks like they've been flirting around with the idea of trading players such as like Jordan Clarkson, Lauri Markkanen, and now Walker Kessler. Now, we see there's a couple of teams here that, we obviously don't want to talk about. Like the Lakers, but there's the Lakers, Pelicans, Magic, Heat, Grizzlies, Clippers, Milwaukee Bucks, and the Celtics. Now, there's a couple of teams that are on this list. These betting lists are from Bovada, but there's a couple of teams on this list that I don't think would make a lot of sense for them to look for a center. Team particularly like the Grizzlies or the Clippers, possibly the Bucks, but the Bucks could be looking for a center just in case they wanted to make the trade of getting rid of Brook Lopez, as Brook Lopez is getting older. Every year he's going to be getting older. But the team that I could see as the dark horses to land him would be either the Celtics or the Pelicans. Those are the top two teams that I think that he would land to. Now, I think Walker Kessler is a great defensive player. His offensive game isn't much polished currently, but I feel like, with a couple of years with Joe Mazzulla, Celtics developmental staff, he'll be able to develop into a player that could be possibly a great role player and possibly a future starter for the team. We don't know what could happen in the next couple of years, but I definitely see this could be a trade that the Celtics do reach out and look to see if they can talk to Danny Ainge and see if they could make that trade happen. So this year so far, Walker Kessler's stats, he's been honestly pretty good and been playing pretty well. So that's why I'm very surprised that the Jazz are even looking to get rid of him. So far this year, 10 points, 11 rebounds, almost 3 blocks a game, which is pretty crazy to even think about, and shooting 70% from the field. So he's very much a very accurate player and someone that makes a lot of their shots. Now, just a couple of more things on Walker Kessler. Just to start the season, tied second in blocks, and he's averaged over 2.5 blocks and 70% field goals in his first 3 seasons. So, he's going to affect the game in the defensive end, and he's going to make the easy shots if they're there. That's something that I've always liked about Kessler's game, but it just doesn't show whether or not he's going to project well in the Celtics system. But he's definitely could be a possible great backup big. Now, just to bring up the next point that I want to talk about is I have a mock trade for you guys to show you guys, just in case, if this were to happen, what would it possibly look like? And our most expendable contract would be Jaden Springer. Now, Jaden Springer, young, great defensive player. He's definitely, expendable contract. You're a bench player. You're making a lot of money in contrast to all the other bench players at his position. And seeing that, could see that we could give him away trading this year's first round pick and this year's second round pick and possibly a future second. I seen this online and I said, this makes a lot of sense as to we could possibly give this up and it would be fair. For a player like Kessler, he's still very young. So I could see that Danny Ainge is going to be wanting more, because we've seen Danny Ainge before in the past being able to get more than what the player is valued at. So definitely there's a great possibility that this is not enough. But I know with Walker Kessler's ability and Jaden Springer as well, like Jaden Springer is not to slouch on his game at all. Jaden Springer has the incredible potential to be a great guard in this league if he can polish his offensive ability. But with the Celtics' current wants and needs, they kind of don't. Jaden Springer is kind of expendable in trade talks, especially to get under the cap, because of how stacked we are at the position. If this was like another team I was talking about, I would definitely talk about keeping Jaden Springer. But since it's the Celtics, we need to kind of think about, we need to get either under the cap or try to, in future years get rid of these players that are kind of just stuck in these positions, like a Jaden Springer. Now, the next thing I want to talk about, that's not it, but just a couple of more things that I had is for you guys is just my final thoughts. And I think this trade is something that I would personally not do. Now, you guys are wondering why not. Well, I've been seeing in these past couple of games that Neemias Queta has not been getting the run that he should be getting. And I haven't gone this whole video without talking about our current bigs that are on the team in Queta and Luke Kornet. Luke Kornet getting older, but Queta definitely has a spot on the rotation for years to come. And I think Queta could very much well fit into the role that Walker Kessler already does with more playing time. We haven't seen him play a whole bunch in some games. Some games he has played, due to Al Horford and Kristaps. But I definitely think that Queta could fill into this role very nicely. And we also have the help right now of Luke Kornet, who's bringing in some good minutes when he's playing. Now, 2 points, three rebounds, a block, and a steal per game, or 0.5 steals per game. He's playing quality minutes, and he is still 29 years old. So I definitely think that if we're going to make this trade, it kind of makes sense, but it kind of doesn't as well. I just think, personally, there's a couple of players that we could also look at to possibly make a trade, or just wait until next year's free agency and see if there's a player that kind of slips through the cracks that we could possibly get. Now, as much as I like Walker Kessler's game, the asking price might just be a little bit too steep, and other teams might be willing to offer more. Now, we saw the couple of teams that are on the list already, and a team like the Pelicans or even the Heat could possibly just offer a little bit more than what we can, because of their positions that they currently at. And the Pelicans, they're the one team that just absolutely needs a center at the moment. They have Zion Williamson running at the 5, and I don't understand that whatsoever. Or Larry Nance Jr. Those are their quote unquote big men. But I definitely think that we could be a possible dark horse to land Walker Kessler. And if we were to land Walker Kessler, it would be a great fit, even though his offensive game isn't currently there polished. He's a great inside player, but could he be able to play in a 5-out system where he would need to expand his jumper a little bit more? I definitely think, with the Celtics developmental staff and all these assets that are already in place to help players grow, it's definitely possible. But, we already have a player that's very much quality in Neemias Queta that can already fill that role. Let me know your guys' thoughts down below. This is another episode of Celtics Digest. I'm your host, Godfrey Sympre. See you guys later.